Hey guys, I hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving House of Villains episode 8. So Candy has Victoria, Larsa, and Safaree up. Safaree is asking Candy, is he just a pawn or do they have beef? And Candy is like, Safaree is really just a pawn. And then Victoria is crying to Teresa Child, talking about how Larsa says she don't got no clothes and she don't got nowhere to live and stuff. So New York finally says, I feel like everybody in the house is going a little too hard on Victoria. And West was like, you in crazy town when New York is the voice of reason and compassion. And they show all her clips of her going off on everybody throughout the season. Larsa sitting there like, oh, I'm not too hard on her. She starts with me. Like, you the main one who be going so hard on Victoria. And it was like, okay, at first it was kind of funny because Victoria can be annoying, but now you doing too much and you just coming off like a mean girl. You was even trying to get Teresa to be mean to Victoria, like telling her she's being too soft on her. This is not the Teresa you know from Housewives. Like, you wanted you and Teresa to tag team her or something. So Victoria came downstairs and Candy was like, I hope you don't take me putting you up personal. I like you. It was just a gamer's move. And Victoria was like, no, I'm good. And New York was like, yeah, but I told everybody they've been being too hard on you. And Victoria was like, yeah, I don't feel like my clothes and my living situation should be attacked. And Larsa starts going off on her, oh, shut your face, da 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 da. Larsa needs to go. Because Larsa just thinks that she could bring that housewives energy everywhere. And it's annoying after a while. Like, girl, just play the damn game. And like New York said, it just comes off like Larsa is immature. Like, you're a mother. You're at least somewhere in your 40s. And Victoria is probably in her 20s. Like, for real, I'm about to look it up. So Victoria is 31 and Larsa is 50. Like, girl, sit down. You can literally be her mom. You're doing too much. Larsa doing little flirty stuff to try to get some of these guys like Safaree on her side. She gonna ask Safaree to unzip her out of her jumpsuit. Like, girl, you're not slick. I see what you're trying to do. And Safaree, he go for anything, so it's probably gonna work. So the next morning, Larsa sitting here flirting with Safaree some more. And he asked her about this ring she had on her finger. And she was like, oh, my boyfriend gave it to me. I mean, my ex-boyfriend gave it to me. I don't know. We're kind of working things out. And Safaree was like, that hurt my heart to hear. Like, Larsa is just messy. And then she was like, I don't even want to talk about my boyfriend when the producers asked her. Like, girl. So they're outside. I think they're going to the redemption challenge. And Victoria was like, I don't want to be in a car with Larsa. But then it ended up being her, Larsa, and Safaree. I think because they're the ones who are actually competing in the challenge. So they had to ride separately from everybody else. That's what it looked like. So they're at the comedy club. And I recognize this challenge from season 1. Out of the 3, I do feel like Safaree will get off the hit list. I think he's more funny than Victoria and Larsa. Victoria's kind of dumb. And Larsa just has a very dry personality, in my opinion. So the challenge is called Cap It Off. And basically, Joel is going to show them a picture from the show and they'll all have to create a caption, and whoever has the funniest caption will win the point based on everybody else in the house voting. So literally nobody's laughing at the captions. They're not funny. Like I expected Victoria and Larsa to not be funny, but Safaree, you need to do better. Whichever one of these captions you making, a mess. So we went through 3 rounds, and again, everybody was just saying how all of the jokes were horrible. But right now, Larsa is in the lead. And it got so bad that House of Villains actually put something on the screen that said, we agree that this challenge isn't funny, so we're going to do everybody a favor. And they started just fast forwarding through the challenge. Like, this shit was trash. Okay, so an update. Larsa has 7 points, Safaree has 9 points, and Victoria has 4 points. So right now, Safaree is in the lead, which is what I expected it to be by the end of the game. But he wasn't as funny as I thought he would be. Okay, so Victoria caught up a little bit, so now they're about to do the last photo. The score is Larsa 10, Safaree 11, Victoria 9. So it's anybody's game. So the last vote was unanimous. Everybody voted for Safaree's joke, and he is off the hit list. So it'll be either Victoria or Larsa going home. I don't really mind either of them going home, but I prefer it to be Larsa, honestly. So Victoria's in her confessional, like, I'm mad I didn't win the challenge, but I know I'm not going home because I only need 3 votes. So Larsa's ass is grass. So Victoria seems confident in her alliances. I will say that it does seem like New York is probably leaning towards voting for Victoria to stay. West is probably leaning towards voting for Victoria to stay. And Teresa should be leaning towards Victoria staying because Larsa just put her up and like went against their whole housewives pack. So she should get some revenge. And Larsa is in her confessional, like, I need to go around the house and talk to everybody because Victoria is the crybaby of the house. And I definitely need to grab Teresa because once you're a housewife to the end. So why did you put her up? So while they're riding back, everybody's kind of telling Teresa, you might be the deciding vote and asking her who she's going to vote for. They like, it's going to be one of your friends. So a lot of us want to vote in whatever direction you're voting in. And Wes was like, yeah, so when they come to me and ask why they got voted out, I'm going to just say, well, we all went with what Teresa wanted to do because at the end of the day, Teresa had the most difficult decision to make. So now they putting all this pressure on Teresa. So Larsa's asking everybody in the kitchen who they're voting for. Wes told her, talk to Teresa. And then she said, Jesse, who are you going to vote for? And he said, I'd like to vote for you to stay. And she said, would you want to or are you going to? He said, I want to. So she said, what does that mean? And Jesse basically said, I'm going to vote in whatever direction the House is voting for as well. But I would want for you to stay. So New York has clearly taken a liking to Victoria, and they were talking outside, and she was asking her, like, what are your numbers looking like? Because she wants Victoria to stay, but she also just wants to see where everybody else in the house is at. So like I said, Victoria thinks she's got it in the bag. You know, she's talked to everybody and she feels like they're leaning towards her. The only person she know for a fact she don't got is Safaree because he's up Larsa's ass and they always flirting. So Larsa's going to Teresa like, oh, when Victoria leaves, I want to come in the room with you so we can be together, the housewives, trying to butter Teresa up. And then in her confessional, she was like, you know, if you watch Housewives, you know that a little bit of betrayal is not the end of a friendship. And Teresa is still here. So at the end of the day, it was just a play. But I need to make her know that it's Housewives till the end in this house. So Teresa asked her, well, girl, how loyal are you to me? And Larsa was like, I'm as loyal as they come. And Teresa was like, you promise? And Larsa was like, yeah. Teresa, if you want to be stupid and forgive Larsa, okay. Because even if it come down to y'all being at the top 3 or top 4, she's going to turn on you again. Only one person can win the money. And Victoria was talking to Jesse and she was like, well, you know, Teresa gave me her word that she's going to vote to keep me. And Jesse was like, well, I don't think she's going to lie to your face. But then Teresa is talking to Larsa and she's like, you know, Mother Teresa is going to go out of the window because I gave people my word and I'm about to go against it, basically. Like, you really about to really stick with Larsa. Like, you're dumb as hell, Teresa. Like, Larsa is way more of a threat. Larsa is way more manipulative and conniving, in my opinion, than Victoria. Victoria is actually kind of dumb, like I said. She don't be winning challenges. She don't be really contributing nothing to challenges. Like, the only challenge I remember Victoria winning was that challenge where she beat Camila, where Tori Spelling was there and they had to run around and grab all their names off the lockers and stuff. But as far as who influences the house and sways the votes, it's definitely Larsa more than Victoria. And Wes basically said, you know, he's been trying to protect Victoria this whole game. But at this point, he felt like she a walking liability because she rubbed everybody the wrong way. And they showed like the old clips of her getting into it with Larissa, her getting into it with Safaree and telling him to shut the F up, her like going around and starting stuff the way she had New York and Teresa arguing last week or a couple weeks ago. And basically now he's saying he started to see Larsa as more of an asset and he's become the third housewife with her and Teresa. So he want to continue seeing where that alliance is going to go. It sounds like everybody is telling Victoria they going to vote for her, but they not. So Jesse, West, and New York sat down and Jesse asked West, am I wrong to assume that you're going to keep Victoria? And he was like, I think you would be wrong to assume that. But Jesse was like, I don't really trust Wes because with Victoria being in the house, he's stronger because she's basically like a little pawn for him. So Jesse was like, it wouldn't really make sense for Wes to get rid of Victoria. And it also wouldn't make sense for me to vote Larsa out. It would make sense for me to vote Victoria out so that I could try to weaken Wes because Victoria is like his biggest alliance and she kind of does whatever he says. She saved him before in the game and like he took her under the wing because he knew that she was weak and she was lost and she just didn't really know what to do. But now because he sees that she's not an asset anymore, he's ready to just discard her and throw her to the trash anyway. Victoria's dumb. Now Safaree done already had Richard dressed up like him. Now he got Wes dressing up like him and he dressing up like Wes. He said he tired of looking at Wes' lack of fashion. So they came downstairs and Teresa was sitting there like, oh yeah, Wes, it looks really good on you. Wes looked a mess and so did Safaree. New York came downstairs and told the truth. She said, what, Safaree, you're going fishing and Wes is going pimping? Like, what is this? Safaree had his yo-yo swinging it all over the place like Wes be doing around the house, looking a mess. She said, you giving the Black Forrest Gump. So it's time for the banishment ceremony and Larsa says she's ready because she can't lose to a bachelor reject. So they get up there to make their speeches and Victoria's talking about, I've had a very tumultuous journey on this show. She meant to say tumultuous. Victoria is so dumb. I can't. That's all I could say about her, y'all. So of course we saw Safaree vote out Victoria and we saw New York vote out Larsa. Now they didn't show us who anybody else voted for, but Teresa did make a point. She was like, you know, Larsa was causing issues with me as far as her putting me up on the hit list, but Victoria also was causing issues with me because she ran and told New York what I said about her, and then me and New York got into that whole big argument. So I could see honestly how she want to vote either way. But one thing, I'm happy either one of them is about to go home because I'm tired of hearing Victoria and Larsa argue every day and at every elimination. So the vote was 4-1 and Victoria is going home. So that means that 4 people voted out Victoria and the one person that voted to keep Victoria was obviously New York. So New York kept her word, but everybody else was lying to Victoria, like I said. So Victoria was like, wow, y'all are some good liars. And then they showed Teresa and she was like, yeah, I knew Larsa first and I don't cross the Bravo family. But she crossed you, girl. Wake up. And New York was like, well, I just want to say I'm a woman of my word. And Victoria was like, thank you. I appreciate you for not lying to my face like other people. And Teresa was like, yeah, well, I didn't lie to your face. I knew her first. My loyalty lies with her. And Victoria told Teresa, just keep being stupid. And Safaree was laughing because it's like, she's right. Like, she just ate you up. Keep being stupid because Larsa is playing you, bitch. So thankfully, Kandi was tired of the back and forth like all of us, and she cut the conversation short, and she was like, listen, Victoria, it's time for you to go. And she hit the button, and Victoria went flying backwards. So Victoria did her little exit interview. She was mad as hell. The only thing she said that didn't make no sense to me, she was like, oh, you guys are here with that disgusting French toast that Larsa and Teresa make. Now, their French toast is probably not that good. But she was like, who eats French toast? That's disgusting. No, if you get the right French toast, that should be busting. I don't know what you talking about. So usually the episode would end here, but we have 5 minutes left, and Joel tells them to line up and they're going to do a quick exercise. So he basically tells them, you guys have been living with each other for a couple weeks now, and I want you guys to rank yourself from least villainous to most villainous. Now, you already know these exercises will always have a catch to them, or they're going to affect something in the game. So if I was playing the game, the safest place to be would be somewhere in the middle. I don't want to be the least villainous, and I don't want to be the most villainous. So they were lining up, and from the beginning, New York went to the top, and she was like, I am the most villainous. Like, I'm the most well-known villain on this show, and I've been playing the game since the very beginning. From the first challenge, I pulled the immunity lever for myself, and I was all for me. I didn't care about the team. Kandi was in the number 2 spot, and Kandi explained why, she felt like she should be there. And Jesse was like, well, maybe you should be in the number 1 spot. And Kandi was like, yeah, well, I would take the number 1 spot if I could. And New York was like, yeah, but she's not going to take my spot. And Jesse was like, I think you should, being messy. And New York said, Jesse, stop playing with me. I don't care if you got that Willy Wonka jacket on, bit. So Kandi started trying to push her way to the most villainous spot. And Teresa and Jesse was like, yeah, we agree Kandi is the most villainous. So New York eventually went to the number 2 spot. She didn't want to, but I think it's for the best. Because like I said, I feel like the most and the least villainous people are the people that are going to get affected by this challenge. Because honestly, Wes should be ranked as the most villainous. And the least villainous in the house right now, I would say, is Jesse or Teresa. And Joel asked New York, was she comfortable in the number 2 spot? And she said no, but I don't feel like taking a bite out of a ham hock, so I'm going to stay in this position, talking about Kandi. And then her confessional, she was like, Kandi is such a heavy-handed bitch, so I just had to stay in this spot. And that's what I was saying. It was like Kandi was trying to push New York out of the spot, like physically. And y'all already know how I feel about that because Kandi is a man. I'm not feeling it, but we going to move on. So Safaree was trying to stay in the least villainous spot, and he was like, I feel like whoever is the least villainous is going to be super villain next week, so I'm going to take my chances. But Larsa called it out, and she was like, how are you the least villainous, like out of all people? Safaree said all he do is tell people the truth. But I got you in 4K lying to Camilla right before y'all went into the elimination, telling her she's a black queen and she's not going nowhere, and you're not going to vote against her. And then you went in there and voted against her. So you definitely haven't been telling people the truth on this show, and we know you don't tell people the truth in real life. Bye, Safaree. So Wes was thinking like me. In his confessional, he was like, I feel like we need to stay in the middle because I feel like the least and the most villainous could be a really good thing or a really bad thing, and I don't want to take my chances. So he basically told Safaree, I think you need to come more to the middle with me. You just pissed everybody off. So Safaree moved. So Wes saved his buddy, probably. We'll see. So now the lineup they have is Kandi at most villainous, then New York, then Wes, Safaree in the middle, then Jesse, then Teresa, then Larsa as least villainous. So Larsa said, I don't feel like I'm the least villainous. I feel like I'm more villainous than Teresa and Jesse, which I agree with. Jesse didn't want to move. He's trying to stay in the middle too, but at the end of the day, you really are the least villainous from what we've seen so far in the show. We on episode 8. You and Teresa haven't really done shit. Like, y'all haven't shaken up the house not one bit. So then Joel asks, okay, is everybody okay with this order? Now that Larsa moved ahead of Teresa and Jesse. So Jesse was second to last. Teresa was least villainous. And he's talking about no. And he tries to move all the way up to the 3rd spot in between New York and West. Jesse, please, you not on shit. So I don't know what all this tough guy shit you trying to come up with now. You ain't been doing shit. Like, Jesse's starting to piss me off. He actually could go. But Teresa wasn't really trying to fight for it. She was like, listen, I'm least villainous if that's what they want me to be. I'm not about to fight for it. Like, I don't mind staying here. And Larsa was like, you could say something to him about it. But, Teresa just really didn't want to fight about it. And that's why I said, to me, Teresa and Jesse are both the least villainous and they both could go. But Jesse has definitely done less villainous stuff so far in the house than Teresa. because Teresa literally just lied to Victoria's face and told Victoria that she was saving her, but then she got rid of her to keep Larsa. Jesse hasn't even done anything like that. He's just always playing the middle, voting with the house, following behind Wes and Safaree and what everybody else want to do. So they lock it in, and the order that they have is Kandi at most villainous, then New York, then Jesse, then Wes in the middle, then Safaree, then Larsa, and then Teresa at the end as least villainous. And Joel said, well, the reason that I had you guys do this is because this is actually a surprise double banishment. And the episode cuts off there. So I don't know if that means the most and the least villainous are about to get sent home, which would be Kandi and Teresa, or if it means something else. So I'll see y'all next week for episode 9 of House of Villains, and we'll find out. Bye.